Jim. You know, today I have a bit of a geometry problem. I have a 60-inch Viking stove sitting on its end in the back of my truck, and I need to figure out how to unload it and get it down on its legs, and it weighs 700 pounds. And I'm an old man all by myself. So I've been thinking about it, and I can slide it up there, and I can slide it. I think I can work it up to the end of the tailgate, and then I have my lift here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get some plywood. I've got a sheet of plywood up in the bat cave, and I'm going to lay the sheet of plywood on top of my lift here, and then raise the lift up to the same level as the tailgate of the truck, and then I can move my stove onto the lift, drop the lift down, pull the stove off, and then raise the lift back up to the right height where I can tilt the stove legs onto it, and then use the lift to slowly let the stove down onto its legs. That's my plan. This beautiful old girl was saved from the scrapyard. It's got some problems. The oven doors don't really open or work anymore. I don't know if I have any of the knobs. I got a box of crazy hardware. Here's a lot of it. I have more. It's got a little bit of signs of use here, so I think maybe I'll move it over to the end of the tailgate and try and do a little very careful pressure wash cleaning here. I'm gonna cover up the burners and be very aware and cautious of the electronic stuff inside and try not to get any of it too wet, but I do want to try and just blast off some of this old food debris. I like to bring home orphans. Who knew I'd end up bringing home an orphaned stove oven? I have my plywood in place, and you can see I've added an extra 2x4. Was the perfect size to run all the way back and act as a good center support. It was just right. So I'm going to bring the truck back, and hopefully this will work. I got her washed a little bit, so now I'm going to try and walk it across. This looks pretty level, maybe just right where my plywood's just a hair below. I know the truck's going to sink a little bit more, so as the stove comes out, so I'll probably lower this another ½ an inch or so, maybe a hair more than that before I start, and then I'm just going to easily walk it out. And I don't mind if the side gets scratched. Remember, it's a scrapyard refugee. That was a success. I was able to scooch it along little by little, careful to not get caught on like a lip right there, or the lips, and drops down. The truck popped up, so I'm gonna lift a little bit higher before I pull the truck out, and then we'll see about putting it down on its legs. Down she comes. Whoa! With a little bit of help with the lift going up and down an inch at a time, I was able to shinny it off onto this 4-wheel furniture dolly. So now I'm gonna turn it around 180 degrees, raise the lift back up high enough to catch underneath the legs here. Remember, I'm turning it, so it'll be leaning this way, and I want to catch these legs on the lift and then lower it with the lift, because it's too heavy to just put it on its legs safely. I'm initiating the tilt with my floor jack, as you can see. So we're starting to lean towards the lift, and as long as we can catch this plywood on these legs, we're golden. That looks pretty good. We're on wheels down here. Everything's off the ground. My legs are hooked on the front of this plywood, and it can't slip back very much further. So I think I'm going to start very slowly letting it down, and it should roll that way as I'm letting it down. If it doesn't, automatically I'll give it some help. It's fully on the ground and on the lift. So I think now just letting it down, and I should be able to put it on another dolly from there and put it in place. Oopsie. It's a fun ride. Anyway, there it is. And I think all I need to do is hook up propane to this. Unregulated. It's got its own regulator, of course. And regular household current to that. And we'll be able to see if it works. But that one opens up okay. This one, it only opens that far. So we're going to have to see what broke. And if I need to put entirely different hinges on it. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'll have to look into that, and then let me spread out all of the accessories. The bag over there in the corner has the knobs, and this is all the rest of the good stuff. So it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Well, that wasn't too terribly hard to figure out. Obviously, I haven't put on the knobs yet, but all of this stuff worked out okay. And, oh, looks like this one here is broken. Okay. Doesn't really matter. And it's got a nice griddle here that's got a drain, which is kind of weird. But I guess if you're doing a bunch of, I don't know, bacon, you'd need that. This is kind of like an indoor barbecue. And it needs, in my opinion, it needs some volcanic rock in there. And then this is like a cutting board. And underneath, 2 more. Yeah, pretty cool. I'll have to figure out why this is broken, why it won't open. And I have a bunch of extra racks for the oven. Before I ever hook this up to propane and try to fire it up, I have to pull it pretty far away from this wall. And if it turns out that it does work, then I'm going to have to put something up on this wall that's spaced away from the wall a little bit and is a piece of metal that is a heat shield, because this is just like plastic over insulation. That's not a good thing to expose to heat. But I will test it and make sure that it does function before I go to the trouble of doing that. And then I look at all of this, and I'm supposed to have some sort of a hood over it that will exhaust all of this. Like if I'm barbecuing here, it needs to get sucked out outside. So I need to come up with some sort of hood, and the hoods from this company are really crazy expensive. So what I was thinking is I could probably make a pretty decent hood out of the deck lid off of the Mercedes. If I cut it straight across here, then it could be the hood and then exhaust fans. Yeah, I like to use stuff I have. I can see it up there. Yeah, I know it's at a bad angle to picture it, but yeah, I can see it. I think it'll be great. That's how I offloaded a pretty dang heavy stove, oven, whatever you want to call it. It seemed to survive just fine, didn't drop it at any point. Yeah, it's all good. I'll let you know when I've hooked it up and tested it, but meanwhile, thanks for watching.